I did start off in academia, the first development of telecare products, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And that shows you the time it takes for ideas that are theoretical or perhaps at least model-based to become reality. If you're an academic, you should not expect your ideas to bear fruit for 5, 10 years minimum. If you're in a SME, you cannot wait 5 to 10 years. You really need to get into that marketplace within 2 years. And what that really means is a lot of market intelligence, which means knowing where we are today as well as where we want to be tomorrow. And one factor that can't be changed is what people want. It's all well and good policymakers telling them what they need, but unless they actually want it, then the resistance to change will be so great that the innovations won't be accepted. And an innovation that isn't accepted is not an innovation, because innovation implies successful transformation and use of technology and new systems. What we're looking for are things that will promote independence, choice, quality of life, and in the community, bringing that care, bringing the support closer to home. And there are two ways of doing it. There's the traditional way. That's below the line. People. If you have any sort of problem, you can throw people at it. People and money, and that's always worked in the past. The biggest resource we have are informal carers, our own family and friends. We're going to have less of them, and lots of older people will simply outlive their family and friends. What type of illness do we suffer from? Well, there are acute illnesses. If one of us had gone down with flu this morning, hopefully it wouldn't be too bad. We'd get some antibiotics perhaps, and within a week or so we'd have recovered. If we had a chronic disease, we would not have recovered. We might have recovered from an exacerbation, but that disease would be with us until we die, maybe 20, 30, 40 years' time. We can either find new people to perform those tasks, or we can find new ways of supporting people, or we can take the prevention road and reduce the impact by reducing the number of people who have this. I think we need to look at all of these. And if you think of these as lifestyle diseases, it should be telling us that what we need to do is change people's lifestyle. And if you have a method that can do that, then I think you're into big bucks. And that's why we need to look above the line, because above the line is where we put in the innovation. Innovation perhaps in housing, because housing can support. We all need housing. We want them to be warm and comfortable. We want the right model of care, certainly. And it needs to deal with changing demographics, changing compositions of household. The big change will be people who will live on their own. So they probably need a smaller house, but of course you mustn't compromise comfort for size. And the answer is probably what's always been called smart homes, but fortunately we have an expert speaker who will tell us that maybe that's not the right answer anymore. But smart home could be anything from this American model where everyone has a theatre in their lounge, right through to the, if you like, the security model of smart homes where you have barbed wire and machine guns to keep people out, through to various items within the smart home that makes it comfortable, whether it's the television in your bathroom, or this is the home of the future in Nottingham. I don't know if any of you have seen it. I've been in there, and the feature that struck me is that there are 14 different flights of stairs there. And when you think that that's where most falls tend to occur, this designer didn't really think about older people. And that's the danger. They don't understand what it is that people worry about, and therefore they design things for the younger market. And that's the real danger, trying to, first of all, accept that you're getting older, but secondly, realizing the products should be designed for us all and not simply for the cool young. If we really do this job properly, we'll move people out of their home. They'll be able to socialize. They'll be able to use these new transport mechanisms. And then we have a mobile care situation. And the focus is no longer looking at things that are in the house, but it's looking at people and how they interact with the external environment. Quick, one example, mobility. Lots of people can't get out and about, so you could give them products that will overcome the fact that they can't get out and do things. One of them will be remote controls. £300 buys you a window opener. You can have things that prevent you falling over by giving you some feedback when your gait is poor. And there are all sorts of aids that can do jobs for you. Yes, I said it's wireless. It involves a modern interface, the hub, if you like, of the home. It goes to a monitoring centre, and the person in the loop is important there. And there's this thing called a telecarer. The significant thing is that telecare in this form is more about people than it is about the technology. The technology is not rocket science. The success or otherwise of the system depends on how you set up responses, how formal the protocols are, how good you are, if you like, it's deciding that a fall requires an ambulance between 10 and midnight, but at other times the council have a pickup service, or that the relative is available outside working hours. This is really where people need to talk to each other in terms of setting up the service. I mentioned previously sensors are a big one. Sensors are improving. They're smaller, cheaper, more aesthetically pleasing. We don't want chunky, clunky devices. Not in our homes we don't. Many will be worn. Again, it needs to fit in with our lifestyle. Big room for development. For our generation, I am certain that mobile comms will replace the fixed line, but not for the current generation. If you're interested in making a buck in the next 2 years or even 5 years, that is not where I would put my money. So our detection systems, we need to move from environmental and security and social through to medical alerts. So there's some ideas. They don't exist currently, but if they did exist, then they would fit into the existing infrastructure and therefore would make a quick buck. And then there's virtual presence, which is the future. If you can't get people there, at least let them get there over the airwaves to give you the interview or whatever's needed. And that, you'll see, requires increasing levels of telecommunication. The UK has 65% of the production and sales of the world's stair lifts. Why? Because we're the only country stupid enough to keep on building stairs for houses that people can't get up and down in. What if that was intelligent? It's often bought with a DFG, which means there's a long wait for it, and people leave them behind, and it lowers the value of the property left behind, so they're wasted. So let's put some intelligence that can actually reassure you, advise you, monitor its use. A little bit of intelligence in there, I think, would make a big difference. But ultimately, the problem with that type of device is that it's stuck in your home. So you can get up and down in your own home, but you can't anywhere else. Only recently, we moved one step further with something that can actually be sold. In fact, it is now used, it's available on rental, and it's $2,200 a month. And I guarantee you that price will drop quickly, and within 5 years, that'll be more like $200 a month, and it's comparable to a stair lift. And what do you choose? A stair lift, which is fine in your house but nowhere else, or one of these that allows you to move up and down stairs anywhere? Well, as far as I'm aware, there are no UK distributors. So maybe somebody wants to look at that. We have a big promotional task on our hands. And that means getting usability reports and good news stories to promote them. How do we do it? I think we need to understand that market. We understand that people are different. We need to use focus groups to get people's views on prototypes before we invest in big manufacturing. We need to know where we are today, who the big players are, know their strengths, which means they're not going to give it up, but also know their weaknesses, where you can fit in. Together we are stronger, and my suggestion is that special interest groups are worthwhile because they have a strength that can go through many of these barriers. Use the support that's available, including the Innovation Centre, and don't try and do it too quickly. The window of opportunity is forever.